Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we streamline complex source material into essential knowledge. Today, we're doing a fascinating and pretty challenging deep dive into the metaphysical. We're looking at a very unconventional body of work, a specialized hypnotic investigation into non-terrestrial consciousnesses, or, what people often call starseeds.
This is really unique source material. We're dealing with findings from what's known as the Grifasi Method. And for anyone unfamiliar, it's a deep form of hypnotic regression. The goal is to bypass the conscious mind and talk, directly with the deeper non-physical part of a person.
Right.
So our mission today is to sort through these telepathic perceptions, what was seen, what was felt, to understand who these beings are, and this is the crucial part, to really analyze the informational traps tied to the modern terminology.
That context is so important because we're basically treating a system of psychic observations as our source document. So let's start at the very beginning, the initial perception of these beings. The telepath didn't just see one uniform group, right?
Yeah, not at all. They saw tremendous variety. These consciousnesses show up in different vibrations, densities, even different shapes.
So not a monolith.
No.
Yeah.
At their core, they're seen as these sparkling essences, or, well, unique metaphysical bodies. It's definitely not one size fits all.
I thought the distinction between the positive and negative forms was really interesting. Some were described in a pretty ominous way.
Yes, the source pointed out how complex incarnation can be. Sometimes what they were seeing was actually a negative entity inside a human body.
A kind of hybridization.
Exactly, an energetic attachment. But then on the other hand, they also saw beings who had this unique golden-looking light, what the source called their subliminal part.
Okay, hold on. Let's clarify that term, subliminal part. For anyone new to this, what does the source mean by that?
Good point. In this context, the subliminal part is the core non-physical consciousness, what most would call the higher self or the soul.
The essence of the individual.
Right. And for these beings, that essence was seen as this brilliant fluid light. It's constantly moving, able to shift its frequency based on its surroundings.
Yeah.
Very dynamic, high vibrational energy.
So if this high-frequency consciousness wants to come back to Earth, to incarnate again, what has to happen? It's not as simple as just picking a family, is it?
No, it requires being, and this is the source's term, rooted enough in human consciousness. And this is where the really unique insight comes in. The source noted that while physical genetics are a factor, the critical piece is the synchronicity in the family's metaphysical DNA.
Okay, so why is that energetic DNA more important than the actual bloodline?
Because the body is just the vehicle. The metaphysical DNA, the etheric blueprint, that's the energetic code. It dictates vibrational compatibility. It has to be able to hold that high frequency. So the synchronicity just means the family line has to have the right frequency alignment, the right voltage, you could say, to even allow that consciousness to anchor itself.
Without that match, it just can't stick.
It can't anchor fully, no.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's about frequency matching. So the big question then, how do you spot one of these beings if they look just like everyone else?
Externally, they do. The physical body is the same, but the difference is subtle. The source said there's something in their eyes that looks different.
Different how?
A look of great distance. Like that core consciousness is coming from very, very far away. And they also tend to be less caught up in the day-to-day material grind.
They're not stuck in the mud of daily life.
Exactly. And the observation of their physical body was so specific, they're perceived as being not so dense. The skin, for instance, looks like it's not so much encrusted in the physical world.
That doesn't mean they look younger, necessarily.
No, not younger. Just that their energetic density feels lighter. And their interests naturally pull them toward creativity, things that raise energy, rather than the really rigid consuming routines we get stuck in.
Let's shift into the mechanics of all this, specifically their etheric DNA and what its purpose is. The session described one person's DNA as very alive, with 3 parts.
This is a huge piece of the puzzle, how they actually ground themselves. The etheric DNA is their spiritual blueprint. In the man they observed, it had 3 components. The highest frequency was white sparkles.
The pure essence.
Right, followed by a fine blue line, which is like the guidance system. And then a third, dark, dense component. This is the grounding DNA.
Hang on, if the whole point is high frequency, why include a dark, dense component? Isn't that a risk?
It's the necessary compromise to be here. The source saw this dense part as having a tiny % of hybridization from non-positive entities.
An energetic contamination.
Yes, and it's necessary. It's what's dense enough to keep their consciousness anchored in this dimension.
So without that, they would just sort of burn out. or not be able to connect to Earth's low frequency.
That's the idea.
Well,
That grounding piece lets them actually experience human vulnerability, the pain, the density here. It makes them relatable, lets them do their work without being totally detached.
and what is that work? What's their purpose? Are they here to lead some kind of revolution?
The source sees a fluctuating number, maybe around 80,000 right now, and their purposes are really diverse. Some are just here for the experience, coming and going, as the source put it. But many others are focused on really subtle, energetic work, like placing frequency nets on the planet to help catalyze these small adjustments in the global vibration.
So their influence is passive, not active.
Totally passive. They are not looking for attention. The source says they're not willing to talk too much about that. Their influence is through their own embodiment. They help people just by being, by acting with an elevated vibration, which helps others around them pick up new, healthier habits.
And that ties into the feeling you get when you're around them, the analogy the source used.
The dolphin analogy, yes. The source said being near them feels like being near a dolphin. They just make people feel joyful, happy, sort of high, because their frequency is naturally elevated.
But they're still human. What happens when they do experience low frequencies?
Well, they definitely do. They feel sadness, frustration, all of it. But the source confirmed those feelings just dissipate much faster from their energy field. They're aware of their energetic state, so they know how to consciously push their frequency back up. They maintain their balance much more effectively.
Okay, let's pivot now to the really critical part of this investigation. The risk that comes with the words we use for all this. We have to talk about the label Starseed itself.
This is the major warning from the source material. The claim from the hypnotic session is that the trend and the specific name, the syntagma Starseed, was actually created by negative entities, specifically Reptiloid entities.
So the word itself is a tool, a manufactured tool. And the goal?
The goal is to create an aggregor, a trap. The syntagma is the label, and the aggregor is a collective thought form created by everyone believing in that label. And this trap specifically targets what the source calls innocent subliminal parts, souls with few reincarnations who don't have strong discernment yet. The term makes them feel special, chosen, not like everybody else.
Feeling special seems harmless on the surface, but it sets up a very particular emotional state. How does the trap actually work?
It works by creating a feeling of not belonging here, an intense longing for some distant, fictional home. And that sadness, that feeling of being displaced, it makes a person vibrate at a lower frequency.
And that lower frequency is useful to these entities.
It's perfect fuel for them. Instead of empowering someone to engage with their reality here and now, it encourages them to reject it.
And the most disturbing part of the claim is that this trap doesn't just end when you die.
No, that's the real threat. After physical death, individuals who are deep into this belief system are easy targets. The entities offer them a false home. It might be another planet or some kind of comforting matrix, often described as gray, or even sold with trendy concepts like 5D or the new Earth. But the source claims it's just another prison for continued energy harvesting.
That is a staggering claim. That the very promise of a 5D ascension could be, for some, a new cage built by the entities they're trying to escape.
It's all about shifting the focus from inner sovereignty to external salvation. That's what these traps are designed to do.
And if we're talking about vocabulary used as a trap, we have to talk about the 144,000. It's a number that pops up everywhere.
The source addressed it directly. The number is absolutely used as part of this trapping mechanism. But the interpretation is key. 144,000 is not a literal group of chosen people. It represents a specific high frequency, a voltage level, or an energetic structure that the body of any human can potentially achieve.
So it's a target frequency, not a head count for an exclusive club.
Exactly. The trap uses the number to make people strive to be chosen, which just feeds that sense of specialness and division, when in reality, that potential, that ability to hold that energy, is inside all of us.
Before we wrap this up, the telepath also mentioned a related but different phenomenon, walk-ins.
Yes, and they're described as extremely rare. The source estimated maybe just a few hundred on Earth right now. They're unique. They've usually only had one or two incarnations, and they operate in a kind of energetic bubble. Their actual soul, their subliminal part, is connected to the body, but it's not fully integrated. They're here for a very quick, specific task, and when it's done, they leave.
This has been an incredibly complex deep dive navigating these telepathic observations and exposing the dangers of spiritual labels.
The final synthesis is pretty clear. The phenomenon of high-frequency beings incarnating seems to be real, according to this source. But the term starseed, as a modern trend, is described as a manufactured trap. The deeper truth is that we are all multidimensional beings from all kinds of different dimensions and lineages. Sovereignty isn't an exclusive membership.
So what's the core defense against all these agendas and informational traps?
It all comes down to inner work. The highest protection is raising your own consciousness, your spiritual maturity, and exercising discernment with every single thing you encounter. It's about achieving that high internal voltage. If you're looking for external validation, you're always going to be vulnerable.
And that leaves us with a really provocative thought for you to consider. If the greatest protection is our own level of consciousness and inner sovereignty, how do we actively discern whether a spiritual teaching, any teaching, is genuinely elevating us, or if it's designed to induce that low frequency of longing, of specialness, and dependence on something outside of ourselves? That is your work and your protection. Thank you for diving deep with us today.